Picture this. You're on a short evening flight, one of those routine trips where the biggest problem is a cramped seat and a lukewarm coffee. Then, a well-dressed man calmly leans toward a flight attendant and hands her a note. It isn't a complaint, it isn't a phone number, it's a threat, and it's written by someone who doesn't sound angry. He sounds prepared. Within minutes, the entire aircraft is living on his schedule. Within hours, the US government is negotiating with a stranger who seems to understand aviation, leverage, and fear better than anyone expects. By the time it's over, he will have collected a fortune in cash and parachutes, and stepped out of the back of a commercial airplane into a stormy night over the Pacific Northwest. No confirmed body, no confirmed escape route. Just a vanishing act so clean that more than 50 years later, people still argue about the same two endings. Did he die in the wilderness, or did he walk away and live a normal life under a different name? The world remembers him as D.B. Cooper. But the truth is, nobody knows who he really was, only what he did and how he disappeared. This is the case brief, and this is the day before Thanksgiving, 1971, when a man using the name Dan Cooper bought a one-way ticket for a short flight from Portland to Seattle and boarded like a quiet businessman with a briefcase. Until shortly after takeoff, he handed a note to a flight attendant that forced her to take him seriously, because the message claimed he had a bomb, and once the threat was confirmed, the cabin entered a controlled crisis where panic had to be contained and time had to be managed. Yet, Cooper's behaviour stayed unusually calm as he laid out demands that were both shocking and specific. Cash and parachutes, and the specificity mattered because it suggested planning. So authorities began negotiations while the crew acted as intermediaries, and when the plane landed in Seattle, the exchange took place. Money delivered, parachutes provided, passengers released, creating the brief illusion that the worst had passed, except Cooper then ordered the aircraft to take off again under technical sounding conditions. Low altitude, reduced speed, landing gear down, conditions that seemed designed for exactly one purpose: a jump. And as the aircraft climbed back into stormy darkness over the Pacific Northwest, with cold rain and wind hiding everything below, Cooper moved to the rear, prepared the parachute, secured the money, and opened the rear stairs of the aircraft in flight, then stepped into the night and vanished, leaving behind a plane full of witnesses, but no destination. And when the aircraft later landed safely, investigators faced a brutal reality. The passengers could describe the hijacking, but no one could point to a single crime scene because the possible landing area was now miles of forests, rivers, mountains, and scattered roads. So the search became a math problem mixed with weather, trying to estimate where a body or parachute might fall based on route, time, speed, and wind, knowing that even small errors could shift the zone by miles. And as search teams moved through rugged terrain and aircraft scanned from above, tips poured in and suspects began to surface. But the wilderness doesn't preserve evidence neatly. It hides it. And the longer time passed, the harder it became to prove whether Cooper survived or died, because no confirmed body or parachute was found to close the story. And then, years later, the case gained its most famous physical artifact, when a portion of the ransom money was discovered near a riverbank. Damaged and buried, a discovery that should have answered the question, but instead multiplied theories because the money proved the ransom entered the environment, yet didn't prove what happened to the man, forcing investigators to imagine scenarios where the cash separated from Cooper, washed away, buried by floods, hidden intentionally, or lost during a desperate escape, while the rest of the money remained missing. And with that discovery, the case stopped being just a hijacking and became a permanent American mystery. By the time the case moved from active manhunt into cultural legend, the timeline was fixed, but the ending wasn't. And that's what makes D.B. Cooper uniquely addictive. The evidence is strong enough to prove the event and incomplete enough to support multiple endings, because you can build a believable story where Cooper was skilled, someone with aviation or military familiarity who planned a landing zone and disappeared into ordinary life. And you can also build a believable story where he made one bold decision, too many, jumped into unforgiving weather, and never made it out of the woods, and both narratives survive because the case doesn't provide the final piece that eliminates one of them. So investigators and researchers returned again and again to the same pressure points. The jump conditions, the terrain, the parachute type, the money bundles, the partial cash recovery, and the suspect list, each time hoping one detail would close the door. But as the years passed, the case also shaped aviation itself, influencing security thinking and aircraft modifications, because after a crime like this, the system has to assume someone else might try it again, and even if no one ever replicated Cooper's exact escape, the case remains a reminder that the most dangerous crimes don't always look violent, they can look calm, professional, and almost polite, and maybe that's the final reason the mystery won't die. Because deep down, everyone wants to know whether the world ever truly gives a clean exit to someone who tries to outsmart it, or whether the wilderness always collects its debt in silence, and until the missing proof appears, if it ever does, the story ends the same way it began. With a man, a briefcase, a stormy sky, and the most unsettling question of all, did he vanish on purpose, or did the night simply erase him?